Hey guys, Lance Martin at the Martin Group, and we are here for our 2026 real estate market forecast. We are in studio today with Nick Manfredi. Nick, how the heck are you?
Awesome.
You're part of the alumni here for our forecast. Super excited. It's been what, 2 years since we?
I think we skipped 2025.
Well, I skipped 2025.
Oh,
we didn't
okay.
do any in studio stuff last year, and we got a little bit off track a little bit. So we're back in studio for you, and we've got, I don't know, about 10 or so folks coming on in. So it's awesome to have you back. So welcome.
Thank you.
What is your title? Who are you again?
Well, in terms of you could call me CEO of my corporation that's been around for 20 years.
Manfredi Group.
Manfredi
Group.
24, 20, yeah.
Okay.
It's actually Forum Real Estate Investments. Remember whenever I had when I had the Inland Empire Investors Forum?
So
really,
I do remember.
everything is really pretty much under Forum.
Okay.
But no one really paid attention to Forum, and so everybody else, the last name kind of sticks.
Yep.
But then, for some of the needs that we have as a company, Manfredi doesn't mean anything, and so we have as is house buyers because I buy a lot of houses.
Okay.
So, buying them as is always a plus.
Well, it's funny though, but I think Manfredi means everything because in my world and the people that I think know you, I mean, it's number one, it's a very unique, kind of awesome, cool name, kind of rolls off the tongue. Yeah. So I always call you Manfredi Group. Do you not brand?
No. It depends on who our client is.
Okay.
The reality is that if I'm coming in to buy your house 60, 50 cents on the dollar, usually, that you don't get a lot of referral business that way.
Yeah.
And that is from individuals selling that. That's a unique niche need. But when it comes to in the industry, like speaking with people like you, speaking with agents that call me, they know me as Manfredi, and that gets around, and I really don't. I don't even need to advertise that.
No, you don't, because that's what you're known as. So basically, you're a private investor.
There you.
You invest for yourself. You work for yourself.
That's right.
Yeah, you don't. You work for yourself.
Yep, I have we probably we've kind of toned it down. We probably flip 20 roughly houses a year, and then I have a portfolio that's manageable now of rentals, most of all which is free and clear, some of it in a self-directed IRA, some of it in my C corporation, and some of it that I own personally. So it kind of just, it's kind of mixed up between those three things.
And you're working with your son now.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I'm working with, I have a young, my youngest is now 21.
I met him.
That's right.
Yeah.
Handsome. He looks like a
good-looking kid.
Yeah,
like his dad.
There you go.
There you have it. You're not modest.
He is. He's better.
I'm talking about you.
Oh, there we go. No, that's it. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, I think that's awesome because I work with both of my sons.
Yes.
And I worked with my mom and dad. So when I bumped into Nick, your son's name was?
Jacob.
Jacob. And we were at the Bruce Norris event, which we're going to talk a little bit about.
Yep.
Bruce's Uncharted, Beyond Uncharted.
That's right.
And again, I know it's one of your slides.
Yep.
Nick brought his own slides, so we're going to let him speak to those here shortly. But yeah, when I met your son, I was like, I just love that.
Yeah.
Because I loved working with. I worked with my mom and my dad every day for 15 years. I mean, we were in the office, and I worked with my wife during that period of time. And I tell people, "Oh my God, I can't believe you work with your mom and dad." And blah. I'm like, I love it. And when they retired, though, I missed them.
Yeah, and my son is, real estate's a great industry, and it seems, I don't know, there's just so much opportunity. So if I could introduce them to the industry, I introduced them after they got some experience elsewhere in sales. I didn't want them to come right in and take advantage. It's really fun having him working with the industry, and also it shows promise. I mean, there's a lot that we do in this industry that's special, unique, and high paying.
Yeah. Well, if you can pull it off and work with your family. Again, I love it. I work with both my sons now, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Okay, so let's jump in, because I know you got a lot of stuff. So we have a clicker for this one. So the first slide up is all of Nick's stuff. He has a dozen or so slides. Along with this video interview, we'll have his deck there. So everything you're going to see here, you'll be able to find on this QR code. So I'm gonna let's just jump into it. So I'm gonna give the clicker to you.
All right.
So take it away, and we'll go from there.
We're at a unique time in that we've got a couple really influential, well-respected individuals that would make predictions within real estate that kind of came together at the same time with very distinct, very different predictions.
Correct.
And I'm not an economist. I've got experience, and I've been around for a while, and I've been lucky to follow my nose in listening to other people.
Right.
But now, unlike say in 2005, Bruce and we're going to talk about Chris Thornberg, they have divergent ideas.
They have 180 degrees apart.
Well, it's 180 degrees, but they're both catastrophic. They're both saying they're both catastrophic. So it's kind of like they're 180 degrees on how do we go bad.
Right.
So I don't want to. So as far as Bruce, I listened to Bruce in 1997, 1998,
yep.
and he's one that really once I listened to him at Jack Fullerton's group, I was done. I'm in this. I'm going to be in this for the rest of my life.
Yep.
And he was right when he wrote the California Comeback. He was right whenever the California Crash.
Yep.
And he's been right more times than he's been wrong. So, I thought I would just go over just kind of
sure.
like from a very high level. What are some of the predictions that some of these people that you and I both respect?
Yep.
What are they kind of saying? Because they both are going to have an impact on someone. I've got a number of properties that we buy as well as rentals.
Yep.
I'm listening to both of them. So that for other people that don't have the time to invest in listening to every word that they say and reading every word and kind of going through it, I thought we'd just cover it from a high level. How does that sound?
That sounds awesome. So,
Okay.
but let me set this up, and it's your deck. But I can't help myself. God forbid I stay silent for 30 seconds.
You are
okay.
that way.
So this is the event that we're at. So we were at Bruce's Beyond Uncharted. So Nick's got a photograph of Bruce up there. He's going to have some stuff he's going to speak to. So 2 years ago, Bruce did his market timing event, and it was called Uncharted Waters. Remember, there was a boat out there, but it was like, okay. But the play on words, because Bruce is a chart guy.
Yeah.
So at that point in time, I remember him basically saying, man, we're in a weird time. The charts aren't really working, and certain charts would help me predict this. And okay, great, I agreed. We're in weird times. So his most recent timing event was 2 weeks ago, right? So today's February 24th. So whatever that is, first week of February.
February 7th.
February 7th, we get together with Bruce in Ontario, and his new event, this year event called Beyond Uncharted, which was just a theme on the charts are kind of broken.
Yep.
Harder for him to make a forecast, but he did make a forecast.
He did.
So take it away.
All right. So what Bruce said, we're going to talk about the mortgage interest rate and really. Chris Thornberg, this is where they diverge. Bruce says, he's saying, we're going to have a 1% interest rate.
Yep.
And we're going to have this 1% interest rate in the next 2 to 5 years because, he says, AI is going to create all of this
massive unemployment.
And every time in the past, so he's still looking at charts, every time in the past that happened, the Fed went ahead and decreased interest rates.
Yep.
And he also is indicating that the U.S. is going to lose its world reserve currency. So you and I spent 8 hours in. I think you left early though.
I did, but I did. I don't think they posted the video on that yet. Though.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I got to talk to Joey.
But bottom line is that's scary, and that's kind of 8 hours worth of listening condensed really, into 3 points.
And by the way, a 1% mortgage rate. If this happens, it's happening for all the bad
Wrong
reasons.
Yeah.
And there's nothing exciting about a 1% mortgage rate with an unemployment rate of 15% or north.
Yeah.
Our business is toast.
And one thing about Bruce's, well, we can cover that in a second. That's what Bruce says. That's what, and you have an 8 hour high level, deep, data set. That's kind of where he went with this.
Yep.
There were some questions at the end from several investors like, hey, kind of not they wondered where he was coming up with this, since Bruce is known for real estate, not AI.
Correct. Well,
so
he was the first one to admit he didn't know AI.
Yeah.
So he's kind of
put
his toe in an area that he said he wasn't an expert at.
And that
but
was
then he made an opinion.
Yeah, that was brought up there. But that's Bruce's. Let's go to the next slide where, to separate that out, we have Chris Thornberg who's saying we're going to have 9.5% interest rate.
By the way, he said that on September 10th of 2025. So 4 months ago.
Yeah, well, I thought it was longer than that.
No, he said it at my event.
Yeah.
And my event it was in September.
Oh,
It was
okay.
funny because you're probably thinking because I never do my event in September.
Yeah, it's even longer.
But
That's exactly it.
That we were way late last year for a bunch of
okay.
reasons. So that quote or that 9.5%. That's the first time he ever said that. By the way, publicly anyway.
Well, it was on a question. He didn't even put it in the.
Correct.
It was not
Correct.
even in his presentation.
So that forecast for Chris. By the way, he's sticking to that. By the way, he hasn't backed off of that.
No, because these things don't change.
Yep.
The reason he's saying because it's going to happen, and a lot of people didn't get it, and frankly, he talks, Chris talks. I love the way he talks in that he says, he kind of, and he puts it out that way. But there's in that one sentence, it can assume 4 or 5 moving parts.
Yep.
But how he put it was, number one is the COVID era printing of $5 trillion.
Yep.
That led to it. In other words, it diluted the dollar in and of itself.
Yep.
Which led to inflation. 2, the second point, we continue to print that money. So in other words, we're continuing to print that. Some people call that quantitative easing if you're an economist, but let's just call it continued printing of money.
Right, because we can.
Yeah, because we can.
Yeah.
This is going to lead to what he's saying is diminished foreign investment. Now, a lot of people, and the T-bills, most people, now, is it okay if I just kind of water that down? Because most people don't get it.
We got as much time as we need. Go
Okay,
for it.
so when people talk about the T-bills, I don't think most people understand the T-bills and the bond market. What that is it is an investment that the U.S. participates in, but 30% plus of our T-bills, Treasury bills, are from foreign investors. That comes from, we'll say, Germany, the linemen in Germany, or different pension funds throughout and as well as
they're safe
countries.
Investments.
That's right. Well, you say they're safe,
well,
but that's why we
traditionally
that's why we get 4%.
Right.
But what that is, when we say they invest in T-bills, that's just a loan. It's just a loan. They're giving us $100 million. Here's a loan, United States. So to help kind of dummy it down for all of us, why people talk about U.S. debt when they're kind of confused about it is, whenever we talk about the T-bills and the bond market, we're talking about just loans that they give us.
Yep.
We have to pay on that loan a return on investment.
Yep.
So in other words, if we're riskier, what Chris Thornburg is saying is, if we're going to become riskier, then return has to be higher to keep those dollars coming in.
Makes sense.
So that's kind of where I think that goes over a lot of people's heads. So what he's saying is that this is all going to lead to diminished foreign investment because we're riskier, okay? And we're not doing a lot to fix the problem. Next, he says that the bond market dependence on that foreign investment, that is 30%, our dependence is going to be observed by those investors, and it's going to exacerbate the issue itself. It's kind of like saying, I got all this money and you need it.
Right.
I need more.
Yep.
It's going to exacerbate that. Then he says that's going to lead to higher T-bills. That is, we're going to have to pay. Our taxes, this is why when we get taxed, our taxes pay for the return on the money that we get from those loans, from those purchased T-bills. So it's going to increase the need for the yield, and we're going to have to pay taxes on that. So then he's turning around and saying that is going to lead to a 9.5% interest rate on mortgages.
Yep.
That's going to also, all of this stuff results in the value of the dollar continuing to decrease, the printing of money, the value of the dollar decreasing. But then he really sets on household income. And when you see, he says, household income start to decrease. Now, there's 2 different ways to look at household income. One is nominally, the dollars. You can actually make more nominal dollars, but if the value of the dollar is decreasing, you're making less.
Okay. So
he's saying household income is going to decrease. And it all culminates in a great recession-like event. That is, so when we say, oh, there are totally different directions. No, totally different directions. As one guy said, it's going to be great.
Yep.
And the other, they're both pointing to catastrophe.
To trouble ahead.
Yeah.
Catastrophe, maybe. I don't know. But
no, this right here is pretty catastrophic.
That's catastrophic. Well, by the way, so is 1%. So
that's right.
So catastrophe.
They're both
Which, by the way, and we got as much time as you want, the video that you're referring to is the link that has the QR code. This is, I have it labeled the 2025 real estate market forecast. Chris Thornburg, it's September 10th, I think it was. And Chris's presentation that day was over an hour and a half. The 9.5% and everything you're talking about
was the last.
Is in the very end.
The very
so
end.
You gotta, if you don't want to watch the whole thing, it's probably the last.
Go to the Q&A.
Yeah, it's in the Q&A, 10, 15 minutes. I should mark what minute it is. I should know that because I've been back and watched it myself. And I think you did a pretty darn good summary of basically, I mean.
I listened to it, and people said, what the heck did he say?
Yeah.
I probably got 8 calls saying, what did he say? And I said,
I got a text message within an hour. I think one of them was from you, actually. I had multiple text messages within an hour. It's funny because one of them, with a group of us had gone to lunch with Chris, and we were at I don't know where we were, somewhere over by Ito's place. And I had a customer. I said, did I hear this right? They weren't, the person who texted me wasn't in the room. Somebody else had called them. And I think you were one of them. And they texted me, did Thornburg just forecast a 9.5% interest rate? And I remember showing it to Chris. And I said, you got some buzz. This person was not at the event. Yeah. But if you remember,
I got calls all that day.
Well, but it's funny because you said it. It was in the Q&A, and he had said that, and immediately 2 or 3 people in the audience like reacted, like, oh,
yeah.
And he reacted to their reaction. He's like, what?
So what?
Well, he was also like what? Like this isn't possible? It's like we've never had 9.5% interest rates before.
He still has some splaining to do. Yeah. He still, because why?
Okay,
he
well,
said
take it away.
Yeah,
Keep
he
going.
said it was going to come back. Oh, it'll be like 8-9 years, something like that, and we'll get right back down to 5%. But all the reasons that he's mentioning, that those things don't fix in 8 or 9 years. So. Both of them. Here's the thing.
I don't want to diverge you. You've got your 2008. How long did it take for that to fix?
That was different.
But how long did it take? Because I have an answer.
2019.
Okay, so 10, 11. Okay.
Exactly.
Fair enough.
Yep.
Okay. So just to put that in perspective, to 2008 for me, I remember, to me it was more like mid 2006. You could feel it. And then 2000, yeah, and then 2007 we were building, and then 2008, and then it carried on into 9, and then 10, and then the hedge funds came in and bought. But I can remember being in 2013 and 14, and people, oh yeah, well, that was such a bad time. I'm like, that was such a bad time. We were still feeling it in residential real estate in 14, 15, 16, 17. So I agree with you. I don't know if it's exactly 19 in my world.
If you said whenever property values returned to what the 2006 levels were, then you have to say 2019.
Okay, I wasn't even referring it to that. I was just talking about the market has felt broken during that entire period of time.
I was killing it.
Well, but you were in a different world. I'm talking your average Joe. You had all the foreclosures, and then you had. It's funny because there's this new push to limit hedge funds from acquiring properties or large investors, which I think they now are identifying that as 100 properties or something like that. But I'm like, hey, I can remember because we sold a lot of properties to them. We did the REOs, and then we basically had the hedge funds come in that acquired. And I have very mixed feelings about it. And like, oh yeah, you were just selfish because I was making a lot of money selling homes to hedge funds. And I said, okay, check, that's true. But this is the deal. No one forced those sellers to sell that house to the hedge fund. Those houses were on the market. You could have bought them, and you did. I could have bought them. Anybody could have bought them. But when the hedge fund came in, property was on the market.
If they helped the market, there was no doubt.
Absolutely, they were a buyer in a capitalistic marketplace.
They were.
When everyone else, not everyone, but a lot of people were afraid. Okay, so continue.
Okay. So the thing is that they're both speaking to a very difficult time ahead. They're getting there from totally different places. By the way, Thornburg it kind of suggests that the AI is a big nothing burger. That he's basically indicating that, hey, we had the transatlantic railroad in the 1880s.
We'll adjust. This is our
it's another technological advantage. And the other thing that's really important is, as we look at this AI thing, because I'm a little skeptical, but Bruce's his instincts are bar none. I haven't experienced anyone that had instincts like Bruce, like for instance. So I can't say, I don't know. I'm at this thing, I don't know.
We don't like either one of them.
We don't like either one of them.
Right.
And at the same time, both of them, how much do we respect any two people more? No. So
Bruce and Chris, it's funny because I got criticized recently because Chris is keynoting our forecast on March 11th. Chris is coming back on March. Well, I got criticized for the obvies reason. Is there anybody else out there? And I'm like, yeah, there's
not
others.
Like him.
There's others, but hell, he's been, again, kind of like you were saying about Bruce. He's been more right than wrong.
I had him come in. I don't know if you were there at the our investors club when I had him come in like 2006.
Yeah, that was when he made his name.
Well, yeah, and he was in the collateralized debt obligations with Andrew Lottie at that hedge fund. And I said, wait a minute, what are you kidding me? You have to come to the group and tell us. And multi-millionaires were made that night, basically by investing in the hedge fund. I made a bunch of money on the hedge fund. I didn't even give them any money. They just paid me for people kind of who brought money in.
Right.
So both guys have, and also after that, after that, he was correct for all the right reasons. And whenever he said the age of miserableism, he was right about that. When we look in retrospect, I can't find anything that he was wrong about for 25 years. Nothing. I don't see anything wrong. So this I weight with him pretty heavily. This is macro economics on the world stage, and none of us are really qualified, if we're going to have a conversation with him, to argue very well.
Well, this is the scary part, and again, because we don't like either one of those.
No.
But okay, so by the way, when he made that 9.5, rates were higher than they are today. Right now, rates are right at 6.
He didn't think we'd get down to below 6.
He didn't, and he was saying if you can get anything at 6.5,
take it.
Take it.
Yep.
But I think then we were in mid 6s, maybe he might have been knocking at 7. We bounced around a little bit. But let's just say we were 6.5 then. Okay, so it's 3 points, 6.5 to 9.5. Well, in 2022, I think it was, we were sitting in the studio. There was 2 couches there. I think we did them on the orange couches a few years back, same time. And he basically said we could see interest rates at
He was dead on.
7%.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? You know, you're making news. Because I think we were at 4 at that point, or maybe even sub 4. And he said 7. And I'm like, what the heck are you talking about? And I isolate that clip a lot. And I remember going home. I remember putting that, but I'm thinking, he's wrong. He's wrong this time. There's no way. There's no way that we're going to go from 4 to 7. And man, we were there 18 months, 2 years later. We were there.
So I could see the way he said it. I could see, and he was like dead on. So no, that's difficult.
Continue.
It's difficult to you can't poo-poo this,
right?
And you can't poo-poo Bruce's gut. So they get there in different places. But if we just look at it, stepping back from a 30,000 foot level and looking down, they're both suggesting some significant catastrophe coming.
Okay.
So my takeaways from that is, number one, Bruce's instincts, like I said, are always unparalleled. They have been. Not 100% of the time, but they've been unparalleled. For now, his AI call appears to be a bit instinctual to me.
It is.
Because he admitted he's not an AI expert. Thornburg's macroeconomic accuracy is scary good. We just talked about that. But he's also predicting how the world is going to subjectively experience our debt, and then what behaviors are going to come out from the world as a result of that. And we have propaganda that we can throw out there. There's other things that we can do that that may mute some of what he's suggesting as well. He also suggests where are they going to go in terms of for their investments.
Right.
Where else are they going to go? So he's still using, and here's the thing, with both of them, I sure would like to see how they came to the conclusions, because neither one of them have opened the books so that we can go, does that make sense, and weigh it out. I would like to see that. So I'm not critiquing them as much as I'd like, can you give me more? I want to hear both of you some more. Both agreed on predictions in 05, but those predictions were based on logical data, analytical data. This time it's
charts.
There's your charts. So and both of them. So when I'm buying my houses, when I'm running my buy flip business, I've done this for a long time. I don't want to lose it either. When I look at both of them, since they haven't provided that data, I don't have a way what to bet on.
Right.
Where am I going to place my poker chips?
Right.
And as a result of that, I kind of. In the past, they agreed so much. This time, they're in significant disagreement. It makes me go, well, how certain can you be if two guys that are, in my opinion, the most independent brains that we have in the Western U.S., how are they coming to completely divergent opinions? That makes me question both of them, too. And it makes me feel a little awkward. So I'm continuing to add. So my takeaways are, I'm continuing to add to my free and clear real estate portfolio. I am keeping cash available, and I have to sit there. I'm hoping that, I thought I did it. I thought at the time I was brilliant in 05. I sold all my properties before the crash. That was listening to what Bruce and what the data had suggested. Listening to even Thornburg. Listening to the hedge funds that were coming out to the group. I thought I did it brilliantly, but it still stung so hard. It still was, the government we talked about government intervention last time. So I'm not, even though if free and clear real estate, a lot of it doesn't make me feel secure this time because last time I felt pretty secure.
Right.
But here's why I'm continuing to keep my free and clear real
before
estate.
you go, before you go to the next slide.
Oh, okay.
So, and I would love to be able to get Chris and Bruce on the same stage.
Yeah. Well,
but there's two things. Chris's video, you can see that it's on my stuff. You can click on it right now. Bruce has a video that I think you have to pay for because we paid for the event. His video is now, which I don't think is out yet. So if you want to see Bruce's unchartered deal and want to hear it straight from the horse's mouth, go to the norrisgroup.com. There's a thing there. You might have to pay a couple $100 to watch it, but I would recommend you watch it. But, and I haven't listened to this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you just reminded me. Bruce interviewed Chris on his podcast recently?
Yeah, it was right before the event.
Have you heard it?
Both. There's two of them. There's two. You can get them on YouTube, but they're free.
Okay, well, those you can listen to.
Yep.
I haven't listened to it. But did they didn't approach this though?
No.
This didn't come up.
Nope.
Okay, so
well, some of it with AI, like Nothing Burger. You know, Chris kind of alluded to that.
Yeah.
So
it would be awesome.
Yeah.
You and me moderate a panel with those two, and we can just throw darts at them and see what happens.
Yeah.
Mud wrestle.
Yeah. That would be fun. That would be fun.
In all honesty, I'm going to call Bruce and say, hey, you've created a lot of buzz. Chris created a lot of buzz. You should get Chris back on your podcast, and you should talk about what you just talked about.
I stood up in front of the entire 500 people and asked Bruce, now you're coming to a completely different conclusion as Chris.
Yeah.
What caused you to come to that distinct, it's almost like not even paying attention to anything that what Chris was saying. How did you get there? What did you look at?
Right.
So I'd like to hear more, and but that wasn't really clear as to why he got there. So let's get back to this.
Well, guess who's going to get the first copy of this video?
Me.
Chris. Well, second copy is going to be Bruce and going to be Chris.
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
Okay.
Continue on.
So when at the bottom it said, "Here's why I'm keeping my free and clear real estate."
Yep.
And because I know I have other family members that owned a lot of houses too, and they sold them all thinking there was going to be another crash of some sort. Yep. I wasn't certain of that. Thought it could. I should say.
Whose data is this? What are we looking at?
This is a car.
Okay,
This is a
car. Okay.
So I wasn't certain of it. So and that is, I thought it could happen. Remember, I made that prediction, but it wasn't it wasn't strong enough for me to sell all my stuff like I did in 2005.
Yep.
It wasn't strong enough. So here's why. I am keeping my California real estate. Here's why I'm keeping some cash on hand. I'm choosing not to choose one avenue or even that it's going to be as bad. I'm just saying, let's just assume for a moment, playing kind of chess in the future, that things aren't as bad and they just continue kind of like they are right now.
Okay.
California single-family homes still decreased slightly year over year in the last 12 months. So that seems like not a big deal. Like 1.7. Yeah. Some stats say 1.7. Some say 1.9.
And it could
it's
have been
nothing.
It could have been +1 depending upon whatever. Yeah.
Well,
flat.
Add on top of that though, I'll talk about it in a second. Add on top of that the concessions. In 2025 of January, I was giving none. Add on top of that inflation that has continued since 2022. We're going to talk about that. Okay. We had this one before. Yep. The only thing that I wanted to say about this, because I'm going to lead into this, and maybe you've probably thought of this, but
by the way, is this Sierra as well? Sure.
This is all coming from the data comes from CAR.
Okay.
It has information associated with what prices are and what incomes were and are.
Okay.
And I went back a few years ago and I said, well, what was in terms of affordability, and just to make sure, because that's a fancy statistic word, what does affordability mean? If 50% of the people, and you can see it in these few years here, could afford a median price property, that meant that 50% of the people, that is kind of right in the middle of all the household incomes, could afford. Now, and so what you see is, what Bruce always points out is, hey, when we hit 17, generally speaking.
17 was his number.
That's his number. It's generally speaking, that's as expensive as things can go.
Yep.
That's whenever the fewest number of people typically can buy a property.
Things break.
And then I said, well, then where's kind of the middle? Where's the middle? And it just so happens when you take all the years that mean affordability happens to be 30%. That means, if you flip it on its end, that means that in the state of California, the sweet spot, if we could call it that, is that if you're at the 70th percentile of household income earners, that's what you would say is, generally speaking, the mean. So in other words, as it gets more expensive, it's dropping down to 17%. As real estate's getting cheaper, it's getting higher and more people can afford it. Where's the sweet spot? That sweet spot just happens to be right around 30%. We kind of drift up and down in between that. This time is a little bit different in that things are moving so slow.
Yeah.
But given that, if California is, when someone says, well, it's so unaffordable, and it really, we kind of feel that way. We both have kids. We want them to have, a nice house and so forth.
They said that when we were kids, though.
They did. The thing that's important is we're never servicing and providing your first-time home buyer whenever you earn the right in the middle of wage earners. A household, that's not the sweet spot. It's whenever you're on this side of it and you're at the 70th percentile. That's the sweet spot. So we don't have to get to, for a median priced home, the median income. That's never been there. That is not, that means it's probably a very bad market, a scary market.
Yep.
It's whenever, that's where we need to go to feel kind of healthy. And I know you say, it's broken. I think if Bruce might be wrong or Thornburg might be wrong, we're not far away from Coldwell Banker doing pretty darn well. And I'll tell you why.
Well, my broken thing, just since you mentioned that, because I say it all the time.
You do.
My broken thing is just transactions. It's just a number of transactions.
Correct.
And the brokerage business has broken. Owning
let me ask you
a
this.
real estate
Let me
operation.
ask you
It has
this.
nothing to do with the market.
That's okay. It kind of does, a little bit.
The
Let me ask you this.
transactions do.
Let me ask you this. If we hit the sweet spot
Okay.
of affordability, what do you think would happen to the number of transactions?
Well, they would increase.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. You got it. You got it.
So that's the part that I always talk about.
That's right.
Broken.
That's right. So also it helps you if you thought that this could happen, then you could kind of plan ahead. And how long before we hit that is the question, right?
Okay.
So then you look at some important things.
Okay.
California wage growth necessary to reach 30% affordability. You would want to know what that is, right?
Okay.
And you would also want to know, well, then what is the sweet spot? If the sweet spot is the 70th percentile of wage earners, if you look at 2025, I created this for you.
Okay.
So that's 165 grand. And I don't want to go too fast. I want to slow it down a little bit.
Slow down for me.
Yeah.
Okay, careful.
So if you take 165 grand, that was the 70th percentile, the sweet spot. You see it's the wage needed to get 30% affordability. You see it needs to get a little bit higher there, right?
Yep.
And so the question is, how much have wages gone up? We talked about inflation a little while ago, right? That inflation that was caused secondary to the $5 trillion, to quantitative easing, okay? That inflation also creates what is known as wage inflation. Yep. People say, I'm not making enough, I gotta make more. Labor starts to
Everybody
demand
that
more.
works for me makes more.
That's right.
Yep.
Well, we had 6%. It depends. If you go to Long Beach, it was 10%. They had wage inflation in Long Beach of 10%. Depending on where the area is, the Central Coast did spectacularly.
Yep.
So if you just take the state of California, though, it's like 5.8. Let's just call it 6%.
Okay. So is that what this is? 6%
That's right.
increases?
6% increases.
Yep.
And you actually, and that includes 0% decline in prices. We saw 2%, right? We also are seeing concessions that weren't there before, right?
Okay.
So I think that if we just continue to go at the current rate and the catastrophic events don't happen, the data suggests if we, let's step back for a second. Do you remember when we said it in the last conversation we had that Chris had indicated we should see roughly 40% inflation because we added 40% more money to the money supply? Yep. I think it's going to be difficult to keep wage inflation, assuming there is not the catastrophic unemployment, et cetera. It's going to be difficult for labor, considering baby boomers are going bye-bye. They're retiring.
Yeah.
It's going to be difficult for labor not to be able to demand that wage inflation. That would be in essence cost push type of inflation on wages. So what you're going, if things continued as they are right now, we would be there somewhere right around 2029. Yeah. You're only just talking about 3.5 years from now.
Yep.
Maybe 4 years from now.
I wish we would have done a little bit of a pre-game.
Me and you?
Yeah.
Because you don't agree with this.
No, I do. No. Oh. I think I hope you're right.
Yeah,
it just makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'm waiting.
I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm a data guy.
No, it makes sense. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm not disagreeing with it. But I wish we would have done a pregame. I did an interview 2 days ago with Mark Dowling,
CEO
in the Valley Association of Realtors. Mm-hmm. he has some data that he sent me. I'll send it to you after this, and I'll make this available. I'm going to add it to the end of Nick's slide since I'm referencing it, and it talks about demographics change. And it specifically talks about whatever not the baby boomers, maybe it is the baby boomers, and it just basically talks about people dying. Okay, and the number of homes. I mean, there's this argument. This inventory is locked down. It's locked down by these people who aren't selling. They're not moving. They used to get a little older and they'd sell their house and get something smaller. And this data, I believe, is put out by the National Association of Realtors, and it talks about the number of homes that are coming to the market. Okay, I'm going to get the number wrong, but I'll get the chart up. About 1 million homes that were going to come to the market either this year or next year, and then it's exponentially growing for the next 9 years. 9 years from now, so in your chart, 5 years from now, but let's just say it's 1 million next or 2026, and 9 years from now it's 9 million, and it's almost going up by 1 million homes coming to market every year, which would in that area, say 2030, I think
you're going to see price decreases with that kind of inventory coming on board.
Well, but okay.
Yep.
Okay. Well,
remember we talked about last time was what's going to impact inventory. That would.
Okay, well, it would. It would. Now, I never saw that before. So I questioned Mark, and I'm like, where'd this come from? And it came from NAR. Not that they're the best source of this stuff, but I was kind of like, you could use some inventory. But then again, will all that inventory come to market? I mean, mom passes, maybe I make it a rental. But at any rate, okay, so continue. But this makes sense to me. Okay.
So this is assuming kind of still waters.
Okay.
It's not. I'm not saying that I'm assuming still waters. We've already got catastrophe indicated by Bruce as well as Chris Thornburg. I'm just saying, well, both of them are somewhat subjective, so let's just assume things stay as they are. I'm not saying that they will. I'm just saying this is what it would look like. You could see further with that kind of inventory coming on board. Let's put it this way. Let's step back for a second. Remember last time that we were here in 2024, and I said, what were the threats to inventory? What the inventory would decrease prices.
Okay.
We saw a large amount of inventory come on board last year in February, and we saw price decreases. I did. I sold my houses significantly, and it wasn't even a big deal.
Yeah.
Generally, then if they didn't get their number, we're going to touch on this. If they didn't get their number, they didn't sell it. Right. So though inventory increases, that pressure will push down prices and make stuff more affordable for our kids as well.
Okay.
It may not be catastrophic, but it definitely should put downward pressure. It was tough on me. Yeah. I had properties drop at 8%.
Yeah.
Whenever I was trying to sell them in short order.
But you were a seller though, as opposed to people that are putting their property on the market. They're not getting their price. Hey, honey, we didn't get our price. I guess we're staying. So
right. But I was a seller, and I was going to sell it. Nevertheless, other people still sold their properties.
Understood.
So the question is if you still have a lot of this inventory coming in because of baby boomers selling their properties or passing away, what have you, that pressure doesn't go away either. Right. So it did go away for us, though. Remember, in November, December, I go, all of a sudden I'm selling houses. It's feeling pretty good. Why? Because all of those listings went bye-bye.
Right.
That's why.
Right.
That was the threat to inventory, and that's what I told you 2 years ago. And I still don't see great things happening for real estate. And 2 years ago, I said I see nothing great happening in real estate for 5 years.
Yeah.
And that's where we end up.
Well, we've certainly been flat. That's for sure. Okay, what do we got here?
What we got here is home buyers' perception of their home's value. In 2022, was median home price between $800,000, $888,000. It could be $905,000. It could be whatever. We'll pick a number at $880,000.
Okay.
Today it's selling for $880,000, and they're going, same thing.
Yeah.
So, and they get committed. I will not sell my house for less than that number, and that number sticks in their head.
They also have a 3% interest rate.
They have it. But bottom line is they won't sell it. My next door neighbor tried to sell their home $2 million or something like that, $2.5 million.
Yep.
Didn't end up selling it because they didn't get their number.
Well, she wasn't a seller. That's the point I just made. Sellers, I'm selling. I'm selling. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I have to sell.
I'm selling, as opposed to if I get my number, I'll sell.
Right.
There's a big difference.
That's right. But that number, today's number, is really the same as 2022. Yeah. But remember we talked about inflation?
Yeah.
Remember we talked about inflation?
Oops.
Yeah. So the next slide, let's talk about that inflation. I didn't include 2021. I probably should have included 2021. Inflation in 2021 was 4.7%, I believe.
Okay.
In 2022, we knew it's like 8%.
Yeah, but home inflation was 25% in 2021.
Well, it ended pretty much 22.
Okay.
It ended in 2022.
Well, okay, but in 21, I mean, we were seeing 25% appreciation.
We pretty much hit the high in 2022.
Yeah.
Pretty
Okay.
ballpark.
No, I'm with you.
Okay.
I'm not disagreeing.
So,
Okay.
so what I'm getting to is you had total inflation within these years of rough, and not including 2021. I'm talking about regular inflation, like what can your dollar buy?
Right.
20%.
Yeah.
If you add it all together, 20.1%, not including the 4.7%.
Yeah.
And that means if you had $1 and I said, I'll exchange you a certain amount of money, it has to be equal, inflation adjusted. In 5 years, you're going to give me 75 cents.
Yeah.
We're going to trade that. That's a big deal. Remember we talked about in 2022, I'm gonna hang in there for my number. And that's the number that I'm committed to. That's the number I want. That's the number I deserve.
Right.
But with this, they're not getting that number anymore. Why?
Well,
Because
right.
the reality is that even though that number's the same, the basket of goods that 880, it's shrunk.
Yep.
It's shrunk by roughly 20.1%. And I think it's a little higher than that.
It makes sense. My friend owns a restaurant, owns multiple restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
And just recently, I'm like, dude, and by the way, these are not high-end restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to go get a burger and a couple beers or some French fries and hang out for a little bit. You used to be able to do that. This is like a sports bar type place, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're going to spend $20-25. I can't get out of this place. It's not unusual. $80. I'm like, for me, by myself. A few beers, a burger, a couple, whatever. And I'm like, dude, every time I come over here. And he's like, labor, cost of meat, whatever it happens to be. So there you go.
It doesn't seem like 20% though, does it? It seems like 30, 40%.
It seems more than that.
That's right. That's right.
Especially when it comes to that sort of stuff.
I don't even. I really don't trust the numbers that they're giving us. But I tried to make this exactly 20.1%.
Right.
So
I got you.
This issue ends up being something that what we're talking about now is affordability.
Right.
We're talking about affordability. And what I'm thinking of, I already got my houses. I'm thinking about my boys. I'm thinking about your boys. And I'm thinking about the guy that runs the camera in the background when we talked 2 years ago.
Don't worry about Adam.
Yeah. Adam and I,
nobody worries about Adam.
Yeah. We were talking about this 2 years ago. Long story short is that whenever you dilute that dollar,
right.
but everybody's willing, remember, sellers are willing to still hang on to that 22 number, but wage inflation is increasing. We're talking about affordability coming back.
Yep.
That's a real good thing. So in terms of hope for our kids, as opposed to this negative, kind of dreary, gray outlook of miserable of home ownership. That I like to kind of share that because we do have kids. We want to see that they can maybe achieve what we were able to achieve, and we'll get to that in a second because if everything continued to go, they will.
Right.
So here's some conclusions. One, Norris and Thornburg's predictions are both ominous. We've talked about that. The housing cycle, though, it's performing. It's doing what it has done in the past in a different way. We crashed in prices. We had price decreases to get affordability in 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Yep.
This time, it's more of a wage inflation and inflation that is bringing back much slower, more palatable in my opinion, the affordability that causes people to maybe have hope again that they can afford a home in California.
Right.
Wages are increasing nominally. When I say nominally, when people talk about that, wages are increasing nominally. It means the person that was making 20 is now making $24 an hour. Not making 20, is making 24. Nominally, they're increasing. That doesn't necessarily mean in terms of the value of the dollar, if it's decreasing faster, that they're any better off at all. But that still has an impact if everybody is sticking to their number, that 2022 number. Property values are stable, but we're saying stable or even stagnant. We're still talking about between a 1.7 and a 1.9% decrease. Multiply that times 5 years, you got almost 10%. Yeah. You're talking about 8.5% ballparking it. That helps as well. Inflation itself is.
But if it happens that way, if we were to see,
we're not going to see a crash.
Right, but if I would agree. But even if it happens, that's, I mean, I've been saying flat. Last year was flat. You had CAR's number at 2 points down or 1.9, whatever it is. It's flat.
Yeah, some of it depends on
this
the
year,
source.
I think it's probably going to be flat. But let's just suppose it's 2%, 2%, 2%, 2% over 5 years. Okay.
Well, it's really, if it's 1.9%, it's more. Why? Because the concessions are still, I mean, I'm giving away frequently $10,000.
Yeah.
That wasn't
Buyers
even
are
there
in
in
control.
2025. Yeah. Well, at least
I should bring Drew in here. Drew, I got to bring you in because Drew, on all the stuff that my older son Drew.
I tried to buy a house from him a few months ago.
And how'd it go?
Not good.
Not good. Yeah.
I was cheap. I'm always way under.
Well, yeah, of course you are. But if he was here, because he does all the negotiations, and he's just like, oh my God, I feel so weak. I'm this, because we're good. We're strong agents. We normally represent sellers more so than buyers. That's just kind of how we roll. But I mean, we've been kind of spoiled.
Yeah.
Okay. Buyers, we had 10 offers to choose from, and very demanding. And this is what we're doing. The roles have reversed. You've got now these buyers coming in. And my only offer, it's accepted, and man, we're getting the home inspections, we're getting this, and the concessions after contracts been executed have been something else.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say, gotta say this on video, I don't want to say that we've been rolling over and our sellers have been rolling over and paying concessions, but the bottom line is we're paying concessions that were unheard of even 6 months ago. Yeah. Certainly a year ago.
Yeah, and that has to be, in my mind, has to be calculated into really, because they're not. I tried to look for that data. I can't find it anywhere.
Well, unfortunately, you have access to the MLS, don't you?
Yeah, but I don't trust anything that they say.
You can't. Okay, unfortunately, Art Carter, I don't know if I'm going to get Art Carter in studio. He's the CEO of CRMLS. There is and this has always
We're
been.
both licensed, so we got to watch.
Well, this has always been the case, but it's really, really bad now because we have a new concession thing in the MLS, and this came about with the commission lawsuits and stuff like that. Yeah. So, but the way it is now, and it's 100% on the honor system. So I'm the listing agent. You wrote the offer. You're the buyer's agent, and let's say we agreed to $40,000 in concessions. Some of that was agent compensation, repairs, whatever it happens to be. At close of escrow, and it's always been this way, but now I'm the listing agent. I have to go in and say, well, I sold it for $800,000, and I'm like, okay, 40 grand. And I'm supposed to break it out. This was for agent compensation. This was for loan fees. This was for repairs. I don't trust the data. No. I don't trust that the agents are doing it. I don't trust that it's right. And there's no
It's missing. I see it missing constantly.
All the time. It's all the time.
I don't trust it. I don't trust it at all.
And there's no easy way for you. You have to, assuming it was accurate, there's no way to search it. They did it on purpose.
That's right.
They did it on purpose because of the way they don't want the attorneys with that lawsuit settlement. They don't want agents going in and searching concessions because they're thinking automatically the concession.
I can get it.
Well, but they're thinking the concession could be commission. Right. And that's taboo. We can't do that anymore. So, but yeah, you're 100% correct. There's definitely, so what do you think the percentage of concessions is on an average transaction?
Well, I have to, I get asked on every single offer virtually at least $10,000.
Okay.
And that's for a low-end house. For I would say for a call it a median priced home, it's probably closer to 20.
Okay.
At least
as a percentage of the sales price, 4%.
No, it's not. It's never a percentage. It just seems depends on the.
I'm trying to put a percentage on it.
I can't put it. You can't put it. In my opinion, my houses are perfect. In my opinion, perfectly clean. They're fully renovated. Everything's brand new. So and they're still asking for it. Right. Why, man? Right. There's nothing wrong with this house. So I don't. It would be totally subjective. I wouldn't even trust my own thoughts.
Well, they're asking for it because they can.
They can. Yeah. And they know that they can. And I can tell that the agents are saying, I'll get this for you, as if that's a value that they have, and maybe they do. Maybe they do have.
Markets change. Their markets change, and you know what? And I don't feel too bad for those buyers because for the last 7-8 years, the buyers have just been getting just completely walked over when it came to all of it. Overbids. Don't ask for anything. God forbid you ask for anything. We're going to cancel in a heartbeat because we got 4 of the buyers right behind you.
Right.
So things have changed.
Yep.
All right. So what else we got?
So where do we leave off with? We talked about that inflation itself.
Stable.
Home buyers are historically, just remember, we're not trying to attract. That is, we don't have to talk about a healthy real estate market where the median home price is is available to the person who makes the median income. That is not the sweet spot.
Right.
So when we talk about affordability, it needs to be 40%. No one ever says, hey, what's good affordability? You know what? It looks like it's about 30%.
Okay.
That's the mean. So it's a good place to at least start to say, where's health? So that favorable affordability, and maybe come as early as mid-2029, all things being equal, continuing on this. That's a good thing.
Well, 3 years out.
Yeah, it's good stuff. If Norris and Thornburg's predictions are off as we reach the next affordability high, this is what I look forward to. This is what I tell my guys in the office, because they all want to be real estate investors. They want to be negotiators and closers. They want to be investors in the future. My son, your son, wants to be an investor in the future, at least that owns a bunch of this stuff as it's going up. As we reach that affordability high, that is that in terms of where, not nominal numbers, we'll talk about income levels and the number of individuals that can afford a property, we'll say that gets to the highest point of wherever it is. Well, I'm going to say it's between 30 and 37%.
Right.
Ballparking it, 30 to 37% this time around. The next boom cycle gets to start again. And that boom cycle is beautiful. I mean, that's when I always picture I'm in a car and I got all these houses, and whenever you're in a car and that odometer is just, and you're just driving, you're not doing anything, but where your income, that is your net worth, is just, you're just driving along. You don't even do anything. That can only start again as we hit the next affordability high, and so that the process can reverse. What's nice to see this time around, and at least today, I shouldn't say this time around, what's nice to see over the last 4 years is it looks like things are going that way. It looks like the market is trending the way I said it would in 2024, not as fast. I thought it was going to be rapid because it was. I thought it was going to be fast. I didn't think that it would reverse course.
Yeah, you were on an island.
Yes.
Yeah,
but credit to Bruce Norris on that was he's saying, and I had talked to him, and what he had said is, no, people are going to remain in their homes and not sell their homes. And they did, and as a result, prices after that decline, which was 10%, 11%.
Yep.
That's still big. It happened in 8 months.
Right. But then it bounced back in
Only because all of that inventory came off the market,
Yep.
just like Bruce said, and people said, I'm going to stay here.
Right.
So it's nice to see, that was the first time that had happened. It always was like this really smooth, curve.
But they were staying also because they had a 3% interest rate.
But we didn't know that. We had never had that really happen before. We didn't have anything to look back on.
Uncharted.
Well, we didn't have that to really. So when I listened to him, Bruce and I had 33 emails going back and forth, and in the end, I said, I don't find what you're saying persuasive. I think people are going to sell, and I'm not a dummy with regard to data. So I made my own prediction was I think it's going to follow the way it historically had.
Right.
He bucked the system because of his gut. He didn't have data to help him to say, oh no, prices are going to come back up. Had never happened.
Right.
But his gut said that people were going to stay in their homes, and he didn't say that prices were going to come back up, but they did, and that was everybody has to hand that to him.
Yeah.
In my opinion, and so. So there you go. That's kind of I think
so that's what you're thinking.
That's what I'm thinking. And by the way, I'm not thinking because I'm not a prognosticator. I'm not Chris Thornburg. I'm not Bruce Norris. I'm more of a purveyor of that data. Since this time, they are not in agreement. That tells me they have some it's not just data. It's subjective visualization of how large groups of people are going to react to unique stimuli that hasn't happened in 100 years.
Right.
Then I sit there and I go, okay, let's just pretend for a second. I'm not bucking their system.
Well,
let's just look at the data.
The easy thing for Chris, and it's funny because I'm going to talk to him. I talk to him all that. We become friends and we hang out and we go to dinner and stuff. I don't know exactly. I mean, a lot of his stuff. I mean, he has a whole team of researchers and stuff. So I'm assuming there's a computer with an algorithm. But to me, it's easy. Hey, take your current model and plug in a 15% unemployment rate.
Yeah.
What changes? I mean, that's really what Bruce is.
Yeah.
What Bruce is saying. So I'm assuming Chris's model has nowhere even close to that. So assume a 15% unemployment rate in 2028 or whatever, or 2027. What does that change it for? I'm wondering if that brings him more in alignment with Bruce's.
You know what's funny is I asked AI. I went to ChatGPT. I went to Google's AI.
Of course you did.
Yes, of course. And I said, hey, what is the likelihood that you're going to totally create unemployment, AI, Mr. AI, you know? And it said, I don't know. And then what it
knows
did,
everything.
Exactly.
It doesn't
know that. Doesn't know. It's not,
Right.
not very self-aware, right?
Right. Okay.
And then it sat there, and then it just regurgitated study after study after study of other economists and projections. It provided no real artificial intelligence.
But you could ask the question, though. Okay.
I asked it over in different ways a number of times.
But did you say what would mortgage rates look like, or what would the United States economy look like with a 15% unemployment rate?
All you're gonna, you know what? That is going to probably take the AI's answer is going to take in individuals that I think are less independent. We have two people that you and I both appreciate. In that, one thing I like about Thornburg is that guy is he's not controlled by anybody.
No.
And so he's not beholding. He doesn't have something to sell. He's really interested in providing as accurate of information, and he'll stand by it, and he sits on it. Bruce does the same thing. Yeah. Whereas I think all of the other, if you're going to ask AI, it's going to pull all kinds of data, all kinds of resources from individuals who are beholding, and therefore I don't find the AI in that case to be very helpful. I don't know the history of that.
I'm going to ask Chris, and again, he'll do it if he wants to, if he thinks it's valuable, because he won't change his presentation for anybody.
No.
But assume it is.
You have to read through a lot. Of what he says, you have to read through a lot, and that's why when he said that 9.5%, I had to infer about 3 different data points that he never even brought up.
But the interesting part with him, though, and I think he probably would just do it right off the top of his head.
Yeah,
assuming a 15% unemployment rate, what changes?
Well, given that, he's going to say the same thing. We have history. We have data on that. When you have 15% unemployment, the Fed is going to artificially decrease the interest rates in order to spur the economy on.
So then he shifts more towards Bruce's.
Towards Bruce. So it all is that AI call, which really is. That's hard. That was a big call on Bruce's part.
It's
but
the gut. He said the first thing he didn't understand it. But interesting. The sub-headline of his is what happens next has never happened.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's kind of like with AI. You ask ChatGPT.
That is what he's talking about.
But you ask ChatGPT, and it's like, well, there's no data on that. I don't know. Because the chart there, what's where we are. That's never happened. So how do you forecast it? So Bruce goes with his gut. We'll see what Chris has to say. It is interesting, though, and so that's your thing. Mm-hmm. I don't know why I want to tell this story.
I don't think I have anything more.
Yeah, the next thing that's fine. We can leave it there. Okay. Which, by the way, all of Nick's slides will be here, so there'll be Nick's video, and below Nick's video will be the slides that we just shared with you. But I don't know if we should close on this, but I'm just thinking of it. You're talking about Chris, and he's not beholden to anybody.
Mm-hmm. He's not that guy.
Well, he had I don't know what his title was, but UCR. Had the School of Economic Forecasting and Business Development, whatever that was, and Beacon and Chris was running that show. And Chris did a forecast, was asked by UCR, the school, the business school, what would happen, take a look at the California minimum wage increases, and what does that do? Inflationary. And basically says, well, I'm oversimplifying it, but the cost of labor is going to go up. It's going to cost more for the employees at McDonald's. Therefore, the cost of a hamburger is going to go up. Pretty hard analysis, right? So he did that. He put that in writing, published that paper, and he basically said the state of California's minimum wage increases is going to have an increase on prices. The California, what is it? The SUEI union, whatever the employee union, whatever, said, I think that's right, you need to change it. Okay? And by the way, I'm putting this out there, so if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong, I'll stand corrected. But there was a huge amount of pressure from the UCR faculty and staff that says, hey, you need to revisit that. Yeah. And so he did. He said, you're right, I was wrong. It's higher. It's going to be higher, right? Yeah.
He's that kind of guy.
And that
I appreciate that. I hate his, Chris. I hate your politics, but I love your independence.
Well, it's so funny because we just did an interview. You missed Ed Hoffman. Ed Hoffman, Wholesale Capital, was sitting here 2 hours ago. Okay. And Chris and Ed got into, I don't know what they got into, but Ed would say the same thing. The politics. I don't like the politics.
Yeah. I don't care if I don't like his politics. My best friends are Democrats sometimes. Yeah. I don't know how I get along with them.
Well, but the thing was, I keep telling Ed, I said, I don't think his politics is. I think he's all over the map. He's all over the map. But he'll say something from the stage.
He's got some Democrat. Either way, it doesn't even matter. I don't care about that. Right. I don't need to be anybody's best friend.
Yep.
What are you right?
Are you right?
Why are you right?
That's all we care about.
That's all I care about.
That's all we care about.
I could care.
Okay.
Care less.
All right. We've said it all.
Yeah.
What? Anything else? Any? I mean, we kind of did your thing. But
yeah.
Anything you need to get off your chest before we wrap this up?
I would say, looking at both of those two guys, it's a little scary.
Yeah.
That's
interesting times.
And what I would like to hear is, where would they put their money if they had $1 million? Where would they put their money if Bruce was right, and where would they put their money if where's Thornburg maybe putting his money?
Chris is putting it all in Bitcoin.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
Yeah, I know. He hates Beanie Babies.
He
I remember
absolutely
that.
hates me.
But I would like to. That would be, because you almost have to go. You have to go to World War II, or not? No, I'm sorry, the Great Depression, to say where would you have?
Yeah.
We don't have a place to put that.
Well, we'll ask him.
That would be.
We'll ask him.
I would, because it's ominous. It's kind of sucks to sit there and say, guess what? All your cookies are taken off the table, and you don't get to eat anything for about 10 years. How should I prepare? What should I do?
Well, there you go. So there's the hook.
Yeah.
So the real estate market forecast, March 11th. We're shooting this on February 24th. We'll probably get this put out next Monday week. So this video will shoot at least 10 days, 2 weeks before the forecast. Mm-hmm. So come on March 11th. The tickets you can get below. We'll ask Chris, where's he putting his money? So
where would he suggest $1 million? Someone had $1 million liquid. My wife just inherited some money, so
we'll ask him.
Yeah,
and then we'll give it
I
to you
think
to
he
manage.
wanted me to pay him for that, though.
Probably. He definitely does.
He said, "Hire me. I'll tell you." I go,
there you go, Nick. The alumni. All right, buddy.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
Yeah.
We'll see you all March 11th, and thanks again, brother.
Thanks.
All right.